Now, it's becoming more and more obvious that the deep state, the central bank, the elites, they are pushing this coronavirus to bring down the global economic system. And they're using fear to push this entire agenda as far as they can. We're starting to see all the players speak up about the coronavirus, about the global economy, and how they're pointing the finger at Trump. But Trump and the Patriots, they already knew this. They already knew that this was planned. They understood what they were trying to do. Now, once again, Trump and the Patriots, they know all. They heard the chatter, they understood the plan, and they let the entire thing play out. This was done on purpose. We'll be discussing that a little bit later in this report. We'll also be discussing Q, because Q seems to have put a countdown in the silent war phrase, where Q is counting down to something. What is that something? We don't know just yet. But we are at T-2 and counting. We'll be discussing that a little bit later in this report. But first, let's talk about what Lindsey Graham is doing. This is Paul Sperry. He tweeted out the following. Breaking: Senate Judiciary Chairman Lindsey Graham has asked AG Barr to make senior Department of Justice official Gabrielle Sanz-Rexach, an Obama holdover, available to testify before committee investigators about FISA abuses. Sanz-Rexach was the FISA gatekeeper at the Department of Justice when illegal FISA approved on Trump aid. Now, if you notice, Senator Lindsey Graham, he's starting to call in all these people, and they're going to testify in front of the Senate. Now, will the mainstream media carry most of this? Most likely not. But the point is that everyone's going to start to learn about what is going on. And believe me, it will filter out from that area. Now, very interestingly, the Federal Appeals Court in New York granted the Trump administration permission to withhold millions of dollars in funding from New York City and 7 sanctuary states that have refused to assist in transferring illegal immigrants from local law enforcement into federal custody. The Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Manhattan declared the administration could not be required to release funding for law enforcement grant money to Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, Virginia, and Washington, all of which do not cooperate with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, a federal agency that detains immigrants who do not have documents. And the court found that the Justice Department had the authority to set conditions on states and localities it dispenses federal money to. Joe M. tweeted out the following. #winning. Now the president can legally starve into submission the corrupt failed states who all but tore themselves out of the union with their treasonous and unconstitutional policies. Illegal immigration is the strategy for our domestic enemies to seize power at the ballot. And Joe M. is absolutely right. Now, we know that Trump, the Patriots, they are pushing their agenda while the deep state is using the coronavirus. Because look what just happened with the win within the appeals court with the illegal immigrants. The wall is going up. And everything that the deep state is trying to do is going to backfire on them. We see that Trump right now, he's going to be suing the New York Times. This is what the Team Trump Twitter account tweeted out. Today, Team Trump filed a libel lawsuit against the New York Times over a story falsely reporting as a fact a conspiracy with Russia. Statement from Jenna Ellis Esquire, senior legal advisor to Donald J. Trump for president. And below in this tweet gives us the libel lawsuit against the New York Times. Now, there are certain individuals out there that are freaking out about this. Why would they be freaking out about this? Let's go back to post 818. Now, we just mentioned this a couple days ago. At the bottom of this post, it says libel laws. End of the mainstream media. Remember, they're publishers. They're reporting fake information. They can be held liable. And think about all the mainstream media outlets that are publishers. they are going to be taken down. This is why Q is saying this is the end of the mainstream media. We're already seeing it happen where the mainstream media, they're getting into trouble. Project Veritas does another fantastic job going undercover. They basically had David Wright talking about ABC News. He's the senior correspondent. He was caught on undercover film by Project Veritas, admitting that the network bosses spike news that is important to voters and that ABC is unable to provide relevant news to Americans due to their bias. Now, Wright, he joined ABC nearly 20 years ago. He reports for World News Tonight, Good Morning America, and Nightline. And as a national political reporter at a legacy broadcaster, Wright said he feels left behind by the new digital media. And that is right. The mainstream media, they are dinosaurs now. They can't keep up with the digital soldier because they are pushing propaganda. They have a profit agenda where the digital soldier is looking for the truth. They're doing research, producing facts, letting everyone know what's really going on, things that people actually care about. And we can see with this coronavirus, the same players are out there once again. Now, if this was a truly horrific pandemic, there was no cure, people were getting sick, they were dying off, the mainstream media and these individuals, they wouldn't care about the global economy. They wouldn't care about Trump. They wouldn't care about anything because they'd be worried about themselves, about their health, making sure that they were protected. And by what these individuals have been saying, you can tell this is not the case. Eric Holder tweeted this out. Does anyone think that if there were a consequential national security economic crisis, that this administration has the intellectual capacity and policy acumen to navigate the nation through it? The answer? Frighteningly, no. Now we have the coronavirus, and they have no idea. Really? Trump has been ending all the endless wars? He walked across the DMZ in North Korea, stopped that. There was no war with Iran, made peace with Russia, drained the swamp, and he wouldn't know how to handle this. This tells us that they set this up, that they set up this crisis. Now, look at the word crisis. National security economic crisis. This is a script that the rest of the deep state players are following. And Tommy Boom Boom tweeted this out. They are facing a crisis. Now, in this tweet shows James Comey, who tweeted out, "What really matters today is the crisis at the Justice Department. This is not normal and it's not right, and it is dangerous territory for the rule of law." John Brennan, "We are now in a full-blown national security crisis by trying to prevent the flow of intelligence to Congress. Trump is abetting a Russian covert operation to keep him in office for Moscow's interest, not America's." Chuck Schumer, "We are witnessing a crisis in the rule of law in America, unlike we've ever seen before. It is a crisis of President Trump's making." Kamala Harris, "Unacceptable that no one from the Trump administration came before the Homeland Security Committee today to discuss the coronavirus. We need public hearings so that the American people can hear directly from officials leading the response to the crisis." Hillary Clinton, "On the same day, 2 prosecutors have resigned from the DOJ to protest the administration's intervention to lighten the sentence of one of Trump's accomplices. The Senate GOP blocked votes of 3 bills to secure our elections. The rule of law and our democracy are in a crisis." This was all done on purpose. And guess what? This is going to fail just like everything else. Trump, the Patriots, they had the upper hand. Now, very interestingly, Mike Bloomberg and I believe Schumer claimed that Trump fired the government's pandemic expert and defunded the Centers for Disease Control. That's what they're out there saying. But the specialist was not fired. He quit. There were some CDC cuts that were proposed, but not implemented. And this part is really interesting. Remember Rod Rosenstein? He was the Deputy Attorney General? Well, it seems that his sister, Dr. Nancy Messonnier, works for the CDC. And yesterday, the CDC unexpectedly announced that the coronavirus is in the U.S. and we might be in a pandemic. And all of a sudden, the markets came down quite a bit. One day, 1,000 points. The next day, 900 or so points. But now we see the market is holding steady. Do I think we're going to see these drops like we've seen before? No, I think we're going to see ups and downs, but I don't think they're going to be as dramatic, and we're not going to see it in a row each day. And I believe that Trump and the Patriots, they're ready to turn this all around. But what's very interesting about this is that this was set up perfectly for when Trump was in India. They always seem to do these type of things when he is out of the country. Now, the Trump War Room is already letting everyone know that they have everything under control. They tweeted out the following. President @Real Donald Trump is leading an aggressive coronavirus response and preparation effort. The administration has formed a coronavirus task force, declared a public health emergency, implemented unprecedented procedures to protect travelers. They also tweeted out the following. Because of President Trump's early containment strategy, local governments have been granted time to prepare. Meanwhile, the White House is educating the public, expediting the development of a vaccine, and minimizing the risk of medical shortages or disruption to supply chains. Now, yesterday, Trump came out and said there's going to be a vaccine, just like there was going to be a vaccine for Ebola. And once that was announced, all of a sudden, Ebola disappeared. Trump is using the same exact strategy. It doesn't mean there's going to be mass vaccinations or anything like that. Once people understand that there's a cure, once people understand that they're safe, the fear part goes away. Because what's driving this is fear. Think about the number of cases with coronavirus. They're minuscule. I mean, look at the flu, for example. The flu between October 1st, 2019 and February 15, 2020, there were 16,000 to 41,000 deaths just in the United States. That's the U.S. The coronavirus in the United States is what? Well, actually, outside the United States, not counting China, is 34. This is all being pushed using fear. How do you counter fear? You let people know you don't have to be afraid anymore. How do you do that? With something like the coronavirus. You tell them that there's a cure, that there's a way to protect them. And guess what happens? Everything starts to fade away. Now, Trump and the Patriots, they knew that the deep state, the central bank, the elite, they were going to use this. Actually, in Davos, George Soros said that Trump is not going to win the 2020 election. Now, of course, when Trump became president, they all said he wasn't going to last a year. Now he's saying that he's not going to be reelected in 2020 because the bubble is going to pop. Now, don't you find that very interesting? This tells me that this was planned from the beginning, that they were going to pop the global economic bubble, blame it all on Trump. Because we can see with Eric Holder, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Schiff, Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, all these players, they were all tweeting out about crisis. Some corona, some economic, and other things. This was pre-planned. Do you see a pattern in what has been going on since Trump became president? Trump counters the mainstream media. It's fake news. Trump counters the Fed. Fake economic advice. Trump counters intelligence agencies. Fake intelligence. Trump counters climate scientists. Fake data. Trump counters health officials. Fake assessment. Every time he counters each one of these, the deep state, the mainstream media, all the players react. Now the question is, why isn't Q mentioning anything about the coronavirus? I believe that Q doesn't want to be involved at all. I believe that Q and those working with Q don't want articles and anything else written about what Q has been doing to adjust or interfere with what the deep state is doing. Do I think Q is going to respond after the coronavirus is taken care of and everything's said and done? I do believe so. I believe that it's hands off right now. They went black on purpose because they wanted this major event to play out the way it's playing out. And think about what is happening with this event. It's actually feeding into what Trump and the Patriots actually want. The globalist system is now on the chopping block. His immigration policy looks pretty darn good. The wall looks very good to keep Americans safe. All of this, everything that he's done, is going to benefit everything that he's looking to do. And this is why he's letting it play out. Let's get into some of Q's posts here. This is post 3883. And Anon gives us a tweet from CNBC, and it says, breaking Disney CEO Bob Iger to step down. Bob Chapek will be the CEO of Disney immediately. And Q responds to all of this and says the silent war continues. Now, Iger didn't actually quit Disney. He stepped down as CEO. And as you know, many CEOs, they step down, but they stay on the boards, maybe as an advisor or something like that, to help out with the transition. He's still there working, but he's no longer CEO. But this is very important. What we're seeing a lot of CEOs resign right now. We have the Bayer chairman. He has quit. Werner Wenning was one of the architects of the $63 billion Monsanto takeover deal. Stepped down from Bayer. We see Keith Block, the Salesforce co-CEO. He has stepped down. We see MasterCard CEO Ajay Banga to step down. And many others are stepping down also. Why are they all stepping down? Well, Q has told us to watch the CEO resignations. I do believe they're involved in certain things, and now they're looking at the situation with what has been going on and saying, now it is time to get out. But very interestingly, with this post, Q lately has been ending his post with the silent war continues and puts these ellipses, these periods, after the word continues. So Jordan Sather, he noticed a pattern and says, Q has been posting the silent war continues lately with fewer periods each time. February 4th, 6th, the silent war continues. There were 5 of them. February 8th, the silent war continues. There was 4. February 12th, the silent war continues. There was 3. February 25th, the silent war continues. There is 2. Pattern noted. It seems that Q is counting down to something, and we are at T-2. And what I say to Q and to Trump, fire at will, sir. Do it. So we'll have to wait to see what this countdown actually means and what comes next. Let's move on to post 3884. Now, we talked about this post yesterday. This has to do with Patton Oswalt, who has been tweeting about pedophilia. Under this, it says, now, isn't that interesting? So, a year ago, exactly 1 year ago, Q said there was going to be a big name that would fall after Weinstein. Who was it? Bob Iger. He stepped down as CEO of Disney one day after Weinstein was convicted of rape. And Harvey Weinstein and Disney, they were very close. This is coming out of Breitbart. The Walt Disney Company is a corporate leviathan with tentacles that go well beyond its theme parks, its studios, its merchandising machinery. Between 1993 and 2005, Disney owned Miramax while Harvey Weinstein ran it and thrived and made everyone millions. Between 1996 and 2006, Disney owned ABC News while Mark Halperin's influence and power exploded. Since 2006, John Lasseter has been top executive at Disney and chief creative officer at Pixar, which is also owned by Disney. Weinstein's alleged crimes and the fact that they were no secret within the media and entertainment industries has already been well documented. Worth repeating, those in the news, they knew that Weinstein was involved in sexual harassment. They knew that he was doing these things, and many other people were. And according to the latest reporting on Mark Halperin, all of his alleged sexual misconduct, which involves around 10 women who claim they were victims of everything from harassment to unwanted touching to being shoved to watching Halperin masturbate under his desk, happened while he was at ABC News. Finally, we have John Lasseter, who put himself on 6-month leave of absence in the wake of a number of allegations of harassment and sexual misconduct. Many former female Pixar employees said there was a classic whisper network at the animation company where young women were advised to keep their distance from the co-founder. Another former employee told Variety that she was cautioned about Lasseter soon after she started to work there. So all these individuals are implicated. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot more people resign. Now, Grace tweeted out that we have major CEOs who are stepping down. Disney, MasterCard, L Brands, Uber Eats, Hulu, MGM, IBM, LinkedIn. All these individuals are stepping down. Nothing's happening? There's a lot happening. And Resignation Annan put out that we are getting close to 12,000 resignations. This individual keeps track of all the resignations. And that is just absolutely unbelievable. Let's move on to post 3885. Q gives us a link to National Review. This is Senate fails to pass Born Alive bill. Let me read a small portion of this. By a vote of 53 to 44, the Senate has failed to pass the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, which would have required doctors to provide medical care to infants born alive after an attempted abortion procedure. The bill, sponsored by Senator Ben Sasse and co-sponsored by 49 of his fellow Republican senators, needed 60 votes to overcome the legislative filibuster. Just 3 Democratic senators crossed the aisle to vote with Republicans in favor of the legislation: Bob Casey, Joe Manchin, and Doug Jones. All 6 of the Democratic senators currently running for the 2020 presidential nomination voted against the bill: Cory Booker, Sherrod Brown, Kirsten Gillibrand, Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar, Elizabeth Warren, along with independent Bernie Sanders of Vermont. 3 Republican senators did not vote on the bill: Kevin Cramer, Lisa Murkowski, and Tim Scott, according to their communications directors. Both Cramer and Scott missed the vote due to flight delays. Under this, Q says, these people are sick. Let's move on to post 3886. Q just gives us a link to National Review, and it says, Democrats block Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act in the Senate. Q is letting us know that a year ago, the D's blocked the passage of Born Alive bill in the Senate, and they've done it again. Let's move on to post 3887. Q gives us a Twitter link to Inevitable ET, and this is a video. I believe it's in Saudi Arabia, and there are locusts, a swarm of locusts, flying around like crazy. And it looks like something that is out of a movie. You can barely see the sun. The locusts are so thick. They're on the ground, they're in the air, they're all over the place. It blocks out the sun. And in this tweet it says, it's going to be biblical. Revelation 9:3, then out of the smoke came locusts upon the earth, and power was given them as the scorpions of the earth have power. Saudi Arabia. Under this, Q said, finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of his dark world, and against spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything to stand, stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, and pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and keep on praying for all the Lord's people. Let's move on to post 3888. Q gives us a redrop of post 2904. This was put out there, and it's the same thing that I just read to you in post 3887. This is a redrop, and Q posted this 1 year ago. Let's move on to post 3889. And Anon put up a picture of Trump, Melania, and the president of India. There's an individual holding a piece of paper, and it says, Where we go one, we go all. And under this, it says, thanks for the wonderful visit, Q and Q+. Love, respect, and support from India. Q responded to this and says, love and light, patriot. Have faith and trust in yourself. Where we go one, we go all. So an Anand in India sends his love to Q and Q+. Who is Q+? That is Trump. Let's move on to post 3890. So this is a picture. It's taken at night, and it looks like there's Marines holding the American flag. Behind it is an osprey. Their faces are blurred out. And under this, it says, Godspeed, Q. Now, Lisa Crowley, she did a little bit of research, and she figured out that this picture of the Marines in front of an osprey, that this was posted before on February 18th, 2019 by an Anon in Bread 6703, and again by an Anon on March 29, 2019 in response to Q Drop 3306, reminding us less than 10 have the full picture, only 3 non-military. And we need to remember that the deep state, the central bank, the elite, they are panicking. Trump is removing everything that they had put into place. All the swamp creatures, everything that they had in place to take the government over from the inside is being removed. Now we have John McEntee. He's out there, and his mission is to remove the rest of the swamp. This is why they're panicking. This is why they want him out of office so bad, because he's about to change everything. Can you imagine when Trump gets reelected in 2020? It's going to be their worst nightmare come true, because now he's in for another 4 years. And what do you think that means? That means he's going to accelerate the plan. That means they've used so much ammunition, they probably have not much left. He knows this. And most of the swamp is drained. Now, once he has another 4 years, he's going to go after them all. Nothing can stop him. They know this. They're panicking. They know that this is going to be their last-ditch effort. But Trump and the Patriots, they knew exactly what they were planning. And they let them do what they do best. Push the entire agenda forward. Allow them to push the fear. Allow them to bring down the market. Allow them to continually tweet out and push their fear-mongering. Because once everything's said and done, Trump, all he has to do is say, there's a cure. We don't have to worry anymore. It all then disappears. He knows this. He set them up. Now, everything that he does from this point on can say, thank God we had the wall. Thank God I put the immigration policies in place. Thank God I had the tariffs on China. Thank God we did all of these things. Because why? It protected us. If we didn't have a cure, we were protected. And I want to do a lot more to protect the people of the U.S. Plus, through this, he destroyed the globalist model. Is it really a good idea to centralize everything if something like this happens? No. The people now understand this. Everything the deep state is trying to do is backfiring on them. And this is during the election year. This is not a coincidence. He knew this was going to happen during an election year. He wanted it to happen during an election year. Now he can turn it around. The coronavirus hurt the economy. We need the Fed to cut rates. We need the Fed to push stimulus. He's going to make the economy in the second half of this year look like an economy like we've never seen before. That is going to be his strength going into the next election. They will not be able to touch him. Remember, they tried many, many times to bring down the economy. They have failed every single time. And this was a big one. And they're going to fail with this one. Watch what happens next. Remember, there's a countdown going on right now. We're at T-2. What do you think is going to come next? There's a reason why this pattern of counting down is happening right now. Because they already have it planned. They already knew what was going to come next. Fire at will, sir. fire at will.